America has been the most war-hungry country in the world over the last 25 years. And why can't we admit that?
Dave, can I just ask one real quick question? All the mistakes we've made aside, is America a force for good around the world, yes or no? A force for good?
I think this is a childish, simplistic question. We are a force for good and a force for bad. And these wars, listen, Joe, the thing about it is the problem is that, hold on, okay, Joe, you asked, I'm answering your question. See, the problem is,
we're not ending wars in Armenia or South Sudan?
Yes, listen, this is, the point here is that, I'm sorry, look, the point here is that the issue is that I don't think you actually know anything about what you're talking about. And so when you say that the war in Iraq was a mistake, like it was a whoopsie, no, it wasn't. Go read the Project for a New American Century. They were planning, the neoconservatives who took control of the George W. Bush administration were planning this war for years before 9/11. The weapons of mass destruction and the Saddam. Right, so let me finish the point instead of cutting me off by saying you agree with me. Because yes, I know you agree because I'm making an undeniably great point. The weapons of mass destruction, smart, the Saddam.
I just said, hey, well, you know what, Dave? You're so smart.
I'm not even that smart. I'm not that smart. I'm just arguing with brain-dead morons.
You couldn't answer a simple question. Is America historically, have we been generally a force for good around the world? Yes or no?
Again, I'll answer the question again. It's a dumb, stupid, second grader question. We've been both a force for good and force for bad.
Okay, look, very quickly.
How we've been a force for good in the world.
Very quickly, to wrap this part of it.
Warfare machine.
Okay, this is a video that I've been meaning to do for quite some time. I hope all of you enjoy it. Top 10 moments with Dave Smith. I love it. That last number 10, amazing. Joe Walsh was going crazy. I love when he goes crazy like that. Anyways, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Now let's continue. Oh, if you really want to help support, become a member. Thank you.
If I could just jump in for a second, I don't feel that we sufficiently trashed Barack Obama, so I just want to...
let's get back to Barack Obama.
Can I just talk about what a disgusting piece of shit who will burn in fucking hell, who will burn in hell for eternity, the butcherer of Libya and Syria and Yemen, Barack Obama is. That every goddamn time he's campaigning for somebody else, if you're not voting for the person who he wants you to vote for, his answer is that's because you're a terrible person. Every goddamn time. If you don't support Hillary Clinton, it's because you're a sexist. If you don't support Kamala Harris, it's because you're a sexist. Michelle Obama got on stage at the DNC and goes, I know a lot of people are upset by me because when you're a black woman, people don't like when you have a strong opinion. As if the only reason we could be upset with Michelle Obama is because she's black and a woman.
She's a woman?
Listen, okay, allegedly.
Oh, she's a woman?
Allegedly.
Oh, sorry? Let's make sure. Where's our allegedly shirts out there? Make sure we see those in the crowd.
I don't hate the Obamas because they're black or women or a gay dude married to a trans. I have no problem with that, okay? I'm a very accepting libertarian. But my God, the goddamn nerve, the damage that that guy did to this country, and not just with his horrible policies, but the fact that, listen, motherfucker, this country elected you twice. The first time by a landslide, and you have the nerve to turn around and act like this country is some white supremacist country. You two are worth over $100 million. You are amongst the most privileged people in our society. The only thing Barack or Michelle should ever say about America is what a great country we've been to them. Screw those people, man.
You know what? Let me add to that.
That was legendary. That was on election night. Tell me where he's wrong. He's not wrong. Barack Obama did destroy those countries, Syria, Libya, all those. He bombed. That's why they call him Obama.
So that goes to my second question, which is,
if you want justice,
does what the Israelis wanted first matter to you? Like, in terms of sovereignty, in terms of that question.
If you want to talk about national sovereignty, then look,
you're asking me. Do you think it matters what the Israelis wanted?
Yes. Listen, I'm responding to your point.
Okay,
if you're talking about national sovereignty, I was asked a question about how I think Israel should respond, and I gave you the answer.
Yes.
In terms of the argument of what the Israeli people want for their government to do, if you're going to make that nationalistic argument, fine, keep my tax dollars out of it. Okay? Let America not be a part of it. We do not have to pick fights in a battle thousands of miles away. It was the advice of all of the founders, they were unanimous on this, that this would be the death of our country if we embarked in these entangling alliances. Okay. That's my position. Right, so America shouldn't be involved.
Totally agree with that. Israel should have the right to do whatever they want, but then stop taking our tax money to do it. Stop having America, oh my God. Stop having America do all your foreign policy, spending the big bucks for you. So, for example, right now, it really looks like Donald Trump is trying to start a war with Iran. Who do you think wants to start a war with Iran? Is it us or is it Israel? And again, they are very good at making us fight their wars for them, spend trillions and trillions of dollars. And what do? They just pay our politicians a few tens of millions. That's it. That crazy ROI.
They were making money. They were also given absolute liability against any suits for the vaccine injuries.
Yeah,
and
pretty corrupt.
And it was a very weird combination of things we had never seen before. And the company said, we won't make it under Operation Warp Speed's guidelines unless you insulate us from litigation for this process. And the government said, okay, we need it.
And yet you guys spent every day, all day long, demonizing American people who were skeptical about this, demonizing the people rather than demonizing the powerful.
So
listen, listen, hold on, let me just say for a second.
All right, go ahead.
2020 was the largest transfer of wealth in human history. And it was from the working and middle class in America to the millionaires and billionaire class. You can go look up the data on that. They got richer than ever before.
So you think that's what the vaccine was about?
No, my point is that went completely uncovered by the corporate press. And instead, they were just trying their best because the whole thing was, it was an election year, and you guys, the Russiagate thing had failed. And so this was the new attempt now to ruin Donald Trump and make sure he didn't get reelected. And everything was framed through that lens.
How is it supposed to hurt Trump? He gave us the vaccine.
Okay, first of all, when you're talking about different things here. Praising the vaccine did not come in until Trump was gone and Joe Biden was in, okay? If anybody remembers at the time, as of the presidential debates, Kamala Harris said, I'll never take that vaccine if that's a Trump vaccine, and you and nobody else at CNN vilified her for saying that.
They did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
It was not until the following year in 2021 when the vaccines were rolled out. And yes, it is true. Chris, you can keep interrupting me.
You want
Chris,
it to be true, but it's not true.
No. Chris, could you play me a montage like that of people demonizing Kamala Harris for not taking the vaccine?
No.
When she said that? No, you couldn't. Okay, so I'm right.
Oh,
anyway,
that's the standard?
Yes, that's the standard.
So
yes.
Oh my God. So this was the legendary debate between Dave Smith and Chris Cuomo. It was hosted by PBD Podcast. Believe it or not, it was actually the first time I heard of Dave Smith, and I really respected his debating skills. He destroyed Chris Cuomo there. I feel bad for the guy. He destroyed him, annihilated him. However, Dave Smith being pro-Palestine and anti-Israel, that's the cherry on top.
I've heard several different first-hand reports from former IDF soldiers who quit and left Israel because they're like, no, we were just rounding up people and kidnapping them. And then your sergeant would be like, whatever, we'll say he was throwing rocks at us. And get no, there actually are a lot of innocent people, both in the West Bank and Gaza, who have been kidnapped by the Israeli government with zero due process because, again, they have zero natural rights, because screw them, I guess. That's just what they have to accept forever. But you made a
question to you is, you just referenced Osama bin Laden, that those letters to America went viral on TikTok maybe a year and a half ago, whatever. Who do you trust more is giving you the truth when you listen to them? Osama bin Laden or Bibi Netanyahu?
They're both terrorists in my eyes.
It's a weird question. I don't particularly trust either of them to give the truth.
If you had to choose, you cannot tell whether you trust more the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history, who just got the warmest welcome any foreign leader's gotten in decades in D.C. last week, to the guy that you voted for president. On the one hand, it's him. On the other guy, it's the guy who killed more Americans than any single individual in American history. And you can't tell me who you actually trust more. But
well, it's a different question than who do I think is a better person or who killed more Americans. I don't trust either of them is the answer. And Benjamin Netanyahu.
But the record reflects that he literally.
See, but this is just come on. This is such a cheap tactic.
Dude,
it really is. Oh yes, okay, fine. I mean, I don't know.
It's such a orchestrated 9/11, the other did not.
Oh, okay, that is true. Yes.
Okay.
One orchestrated 9/11 and the other did not. I agree with you on that. I mean, I think that Benjamin Netanyahu has been coming over here. You guys remember when he went to the UN with that Daffy Duck bomb and said that Iran was 5 years away from getting a nuke? Was he telling the truth when he said that?
I don't know what their intelligence
Okay,
shows.
exactly. So maybe he's not that trustworthy.
We've had a lot of bad intelligence ourselves.
Maybe the guy, okay, yes, but the guy who's trying to lie us into wars constantly, I don't trust to tell the truth. And to say this thing about like, oh, him or Osama bin Laden, this is a false binary. You cannot trust either of them. That's just
also, can somebody enlighten me how we occupied the land that never had a prime minister, never had a government, never had a currency, never had one person with historical ties to the land called Palestine? Sure. I just can't wrap my head around this occupation narrative.
Well,
that doesn't exist.
let me see if I can help. So the reason why people aren't currently occupied about or currently outraged about Egypt occupying Gaza or Jordan occupying the West Bank or something like that is because it's been over since 1967. So, like, yeah, if you want to go back historically, there were bad things that were done by lots of groups of people. However, since then, it's been the Israelis doing the occupation. That's not a narrative. That's just a description of reality. And as far as your point about, like, you know, that there was never a currency or there was never an official state of Palestine, as I've said before, I just find this to be the most un-American, un-enlightenment way of looking at things. I mean, all you have to do is read the
just comparing facts.
It's not. No, it is completely irrelevant. And here's why it's irrelevant. Read the Declaration of Independence. That's all you need to do, and it will completely dispel you of that. The Declaration of Independence starts off right away.
Well, the Middle East is not America.
Hold on, let me just say this. Let me just. No, okay, fine. It's
this girl has such low IQ arguments. Like, what is she even arguing? Oh, they didn't have currency, so it's not a country. Oh my God, how did these people get on Piers Morgan? I don't understand that. How is someone as dumb as her arguing with someone like Dave Smith? No offense, whatever her name is.
It's not, but these values transcend America. It's the idea of natural rights. Man is born free because these are God-given rights, and governments are just something we institute to protect our rights. And if the government isn't doing a good job of that, then the people have the right and maybe even the duty to overthrow that government. Listen, it doesn't matter whether they were dominated by the Ottomans or the British Empire or Jordan or Egypt before then. These are human beings who deserve natural rights, and they have absolutely no rights under Israeli rule and haven't since 1967 due to the Israelis.
Osama bin Laden was so clear about why he hated America. And he's like, look, I hate you because you murder innocent civilians in the Muslim world, you prop up brutal dictators in the Muslim world, you prop up Israel, who mistreats the Palestinian people, and you have your bases in our Holy Land in the Arabian Peninsula. And then they're like, nah, he hates us because we're free. Like, he didn't mention anything about freedom there. And then if you say that, they're like, well, are you defending Osama bin Laden? And you're like, no, I'm just saying, listen to your enemies. There's a reason why he hates us.
Rockets and things in schools. I mean, there's no question what Hamas is doing by burying all their things right in the schoolyards, right in the churches, right in the mosques, wherever it is, in areas. They do that, and then what do? How do you respond to that? At a certain point in time,
have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the pictures of Gaza? Are you telling me there were Hamas missiles in every single one of those buildings? That's the entirety of the story? Is that Israel just had to blow up this building, which, by the way, still I don't think would be morally justified. But like, come on, man. Look, like, it's just, again, even to Dean's point, I always find this fascinating because somehow Americans could say this about the people in Hamas and go like, you know, like you said, yeah, I wouldn't like to be kicked out of my neighborhood, but if my government had done October 7th, I'd accept it. Your government, Dean, destroyed Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, the drone bombing campaign in Pakistan. So like, can you get kicked out of your house now? Is it not ethnic cleansing if we were to kick you out of your neighborhood? This is so ridiculous that we impose these standards on these poor people that we would never dream of holding ourselves to that standard. It logically makes absolutely no sense. And it doesn't really matter what Hamas's approval rating is, in the same way that it doesn't matter that George W. Bush had record high approval ratings. That doesn't mean that the innocent civilians of the United States of America are fair game, and neither should any other group of civilians.
Okay. Before we go on to number one, I just want to remind you, we are one of the fastest growing channels in this niche, in this subject. Please do your job, like this video, subscribe to my channel so this content goes to a wider audience. Also, if you really want to help support this channel, I get demonetized constantly. My videos get demonetized all the time. If you want to help support, become a member. It's only $2.99 a month. and let's finish it.
N minus 2, 20.
Link is in the description below.
Because when you kill 2 of the insurgents, they all had brothers, they had fathers, they had friends, and they all join up. And so what Israel is doing here is guaranteeing that there will be more Hamas or Hamas-like groups. Look, here's the truth, okay? Israel, and this has been widely reported in the Times of Israel, in Haaretz, in the New York Times, all over the place, in the Jerusalem Post. Benjamin Netanyahu embarked on a strategy of propping up Hamas. It was a very cynical strategy.
Yeah, I don't think that's even disputable. I mean,
and why? But the most important thing is the
because
why.
he wanted to split the Palestinians into 2 groups.
And why?
Palestinian Authority and Hamas, because he felt that it would be better for Israel's security.
No, listen.
Well, that's really what he was thinking.
He said in his own words, so that we never have to give them a state.
Right.
He propped up Hamas.
I don't think Netanyahu has ever wanted a 2-state solution.
No,
I don't think actually for the last 10 years he's even shown any desire to have peace.
But I just want to say this is where the Israeli justification completely falls apart. Because they're saying, well, look, we got this terrorist group, Hamas, they're hiding in these tunnels, and sure, it is awful that we got to kill all these babies in order to get them, but we just have to do it. But when you know that you actually propped up this group so that those babies would never get their freedom to begin with, then I'm sorry, you lose that excuse.
Okay, Deborah,